from Luke 6, chapter 6, Luke 27 through 38. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If anyone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from him. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is this to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies. Do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you.
But to you who are listening, I say. I was very tempted to take the next 10 minutes to talk just about that phrase and nothing else in this passage. Jesus gets up to teach, and this is kind of his opening line. I know that there are a bunch of people here, but for those of you who are actually paying attention to me, so even thousands of years before cell phones, the Son of God had a hard time getting people to engage. I guarantee you that if he didn't get some of them to stop looking at the clouds or trying to figure out what the goats were doing over in the field next door, the next part of what he said probably perked up a few more ears. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. That should have got a few more people's attention. Love your enemies. Wow. So who are your enemies? I can tell you who my greatest nemesis on the planet is at the moment. I've been waging all-out war over the weekend on my enemy, the 3.5 inches of solid sheet of ice that used to be my driveway. I have chipped, I have cracked, and I have cursed my way to where I had reclaimed 3/4 of the territory, and then I woke up this morning and I assessed the work of my enemy. And I am just confessing to all of you, I've hoisted the white flag, and I'm just going to wait till spring. We make light of this, but this is a tough passage. No matter who or what you consider to be your adversary, these are extremely challenging words and very, very challenging to live out. As hard as it is to think about being graceful and loving to the people who mistreat you, it's equally difficult sometimes, I think, as we read this passage in our context today, to understand and decipher the motivation that Jesus is providing here. because we've been able to come up with all kinds of mixed messages about that. It is a challenge in reading these words of how to live a radical life of grace, because we have all kinds of ideas that we bring to these words through our culture and through the history of the church, indeed. In fact, one of the first problems with this verse has to do with that very last verse. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, poured down, shaken together, running over, it will be poured into your lap. You know, they would measure grain, and they would put it in a jar, and they'd keep shaking the jar to make sure it all settled down. So if it got to the top, it was exactly right. And so the image here was that, man, when you got your measure of grain, they wouldn't even shake the jar. They'd just keep pouring it on until it just spilled all over into your lap as you're holding it. The problem with this verse is that it has been abused by Christian clergy and evangelists forever. It's been abused because it's been used over and over again as a way to get people at churches and from tent revival meetings and anywhere else to give money. That's right. This is the go-to verse by proponents of the prosperity gospel. Give to church and God will give back to you. You know, as a young pastor, the denomination sent me to all of these gigantic conferences constantly. And I went to so many stewardship conferences that my brain just fried, but I guarantee you at every single one of those conferences, somewhere this verse would have been tucked in there that I needed to go home and tell my congregation. This is what you tell them. And of course, we know that that is not the content or purpose of what Jesus is teaching here. He's not talking about money. He's talking about your relationships. The challenge that each and every one of us faces on a daily basis to live peaceful and loving lives, because there is so much that we face every day that tempts us to be filled with bitterness, resentment, and yes, hate. Another more sophisticated way that we talk about these verses but taint it is people hear, give and it will be given back to you. And of course, immediately in our cultural context these days, we think of karma. I like the concept of karma. But I got to be honest with you, I don't know if I buy it. And I'll tell you why. Karma is the concept in Eastern religion that good intent and good deeds contribute to good karma and future happiness, while bad intent and bad deeds contribute to bad karma and future suffering. It is a cause and effect relationship. Now, being raised a good Protestant, I do believe in having a work ethic. I have believed that if you work hard, you will at some point reap the benefits of your efforts. You show kindness and generosity to others, that it will in some way come back to you. And so that, like the idea of karma, is something that I've experienced and I've seen it in others, and I've seen it in my life, and it's a joy when you can see that happening, particularly with your children when they work really hard at something and nothing seems to happen, and finally when the good stuff starts happening. See, I told you, if you just work hard. But here's the problem. I know too many people who have labored hard, who have been the source of endless good deeds and the best of intentions, and still things come and their lives get completely blown to pieces. So personally, I can say that I have as much evidence that karma doesn't work as it does. So what does all this boil down to? All of these challenging things that Jesus is telling us here. If you really seriously sit and read this, this makes me uncomfortable. This hits me at the very core of who I am, because it challenges me to step away from all the places that I feel like I've been victimized, or I'm angry, or I don't think things are fair. So what is the motivation? Do you do good things because they benefit you? Or do you do good things because that is what is right? Because that is what reflects the grace of God and gives glory to God. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, pray for those who mistreat you, don't judge, forgive. Friends, in a world of hysterical media, judgments that come long before the facts are all in, where everyone has an ability to spout their opinions all over the place, no matter how ill-informed they may be, We need to print this up. We need to post it on our fridge or on our computer or put it as our screensaver on our phone. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Don't judge. Forgive. You know, this is not about agreeing or excusing or turning a blind eye to the injustices of this world. This is not what it's talking about. It's talking about how we react to our relationships at the most intimate, personal level. It's about love. I love you no matter what party you vote for. I love you no matter what you think should happen with the granary. I love you even if you've disappointed me. And if I have disappointed you, and I know I've disappointed a lot of people, I need to pray for the people that I'm angry with. I don't need to condemn them, and I don't need to judge. I am not God. I do not know what is going on in another human heart. All that I have responsibility for is my own, mine, not theirs. You know, for years I've told the children of this church repeatedly during their year of confirmation that we are called to live in a community. We are called to be a church family. You do not have to be best friends with the other young people that are sitting in this room with you for this 9 months. But you are going to follow the way of Jesus, and that means you need to love each other. You need to be kind to one another. It is not an option. Friends, what is true for our children is true for all of us. I think the final part of this message is probably the most important, because a grace-filled life, to be able to even attempt to live to the level that Jesus is calling us to today, is really about a life filled with forgiveness. You see, to be able to forgive others is the only way that you can understand what God has done for you. That's when the light bulb clicks on. That is when true humility and true human freedom is experienced. That is when we are set free, because we are not shackled to the things that would carry us down. And that is where we encounter the peace that passes all understanding. Amen. I invite us to stand as we sing our closing hymn, number 533.